For people who don't know much about Bitcoin, the image, especially now, it's all about like traditional finance, like BlackRock or MicroStrategy, in the sense that it's a stock that you're selling or you're buying, or it could be a convertible bond that you're buying. So the natural question would then be, what is the connection, or is there a connection between Bitcoin and art? Why is Bitcoin appealing for an artist like it is for someone who's seeking out freedom, like it is for someone who's looking to, benefit on a trade?
Okay, well, for me, my understanding is that Bitcoin changes the paradigm, and all of a sudden we have a different system that's actually based in abundance and prosperity and is going up in value. So it brings us more
Right.
time, it brings us more value. So actually, we can explore our highest creativity. And I think that will contribute to art. You know, it, I think I think Bitcoin is important and will actually enhance art and make art much more important than maybe it is now.
Keep 'em cold till I'm old. I don't plan to blow my load. Wallet so blue, if you know, you know. It's better than bonds, better than gold. Finna reap up what I sow. Fit money can't keep up, it gets sold. How many times you been told? DCA's the way to go. Higher highs, higher lows. Every year my network grows. Every day my network grows. Running relays, running nodes. Yeah. Dollar a day's a minimum. Stats, zap sats. Any fear I get, flipping 'em.
Noemi, C is medicine. Thank you so much for being on Ask a Bitcoiner 21 Questions.
Thank you so much for having me, Saida. This is wonderful. I'm really just charmed and touched to be here. So thank
Yeah,
you.
it is. So on your X profile, I saw that you're very much into art, but I also saw that your handle or part of it is C is medicine. So I would definitely like to explore that specifically. Before we get started, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, hello. My name is Naomi. My Bitcoin art name, one of my art names is C is Medicine. Um, I'm an artist, multidisciplinary, although right now it's mostly like collage or paper arts, um, which is generally in the Bitcoin space. And then I'm also a photographer, fine art photographer,
Mhm.
and I'm a designer. I make clothes.
Yeah, your dress. I see that. I saw some of the designs on your website, and they look really, really nice. There's this, I think it's like a full length maxi dress with the big B on it. It's blue. It looks
Yes.
so nice. It reminds me of going to the beach, and I was like, I'm starting to plan for my summer beach vacation, so I was definitely eyeing that dress.
Yes. Another um, artist, actually, she bought that dress to go to Jamaica.
Oh, sweet, sweet, sweet,
So
sweet. You'll
it's
have
it's
to
the
send
island
me.
vibes, the island wear.
Yeah. Oh, like totally. It's so beautiful. So, I want to get into your background with all of this. I guess we'll start with photography because that's where I think that's like part of your origin story, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely studied and had mentors. So it is a very, it's probably more of a serious practice. You know, I
Yeah.
have like the really fun collage, like the surf art, the seas medicine vibe. However, my photography is really quite a deep practice, and I've really had the honor of studying with some real masters in my life.
In your life. And were you always artistic and geared towards this, or is this something that happened kind of by accident? Like you picked up a camera and you were like, oh, this is me. I understand.
No, I've always been artistic. I mean, I knew I would be an artist. I always wanted to, I dabbled in fashion design. I'm doing everything that I did as a child basically now. It's like I was always making stuff. I was always creating my own world. I was always experimenting. And I think what I loved about the camera is that you could kind of be a spy, you could kind of like be behind something and really it kind of gave you freedom to see how you wanted to see the world.
Yeah. Yeah, through that lens,
Yeah,
literally you're viewing the world through a specific lens.
yeah.
And because photography is also very technical. So in this world of podcasting, right now I'm recording on my laptop's camera. I bought, I think it's like a Sony camera Z or something like that. And I have to admit that it's also really technical, like figuring out, I don't know, the focus and the other things. I'll just call them things because I found that it was really intimidating just to approach a camera because of all of the like sort of technical background that you need.
Yes and no. I mean, it's like you learn the rules to break the rules. So
Yeah.
it's like it's important to know them. Like right now I'm backlit, but there's some light from the top. I mean, I actually probably should be better lit, but it's really early in the morning here, and I'm gonna let that slide. Um, but but I think the best photos are usually the ones that are emotionally charged, the ones that you
Yeah.
feel, right? The ones that are a feeling, the photographs that are more than just a technical image.
Yeah, that
So,
is art. I think you've collaborated with Flo Montoya as well. She was on the podcast, and one of the questions I had for her is, "What is art?" And I think that art is that feeling that you describe. The ones that are very like pieces that are very charged.
yeah, I mean, I think art is like such an amazing vehicle and practice of it's like a whole other language. It's about saying and communicating what we aren't able to communicate or what
Yeah.
we would like to communicate. I mean, yeah, it's very powerful.
It is indeed. So, photography, art, you're based in, I think, in Mexico, or because I
Yes.
saw on your website that you also ship to Europe through the UK. So I was a bit confused. And your accent sounds American as well.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit confused as to where you're actually based because I'm sort of leaning towards the seaside and how that
Oh, yeah, yeah.
factors into everything.
I'm currently based in Mexico. I am of American origin. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And then so we'll go to Bitcoin because this is very much sort of some of the stuff that you're doing now is very much centered in Bitcoin. So did you learn about Bitcoin when you were in the US, or is that something that you discovered whilst in Mexico?
I was in the US actually. Yeah, it had, I spent some time in New York and I had heard about it then,
Yeah.
like 2016, 2017. However, it was kind of
Yeah.
just like went over my head. It's like, oh, that's cool, whatever. I didn't get it. I didn't. And then 2020 is when I really dove deep into it. Everybody was inside. I was actually inside healing from
Yeah.
life-changing, like major health thing, um, second chance to live. So that's like when I really got into it, and and you know, that's when the download, when it started to. That's like, yeah,
That's when it really started. I find that quite a few people that I've spoken to actually in 2020 was their sort of aha Bitcoin moment for various reasons. Like you mentioned, it could be because they were inside and they had, I guess, more time because they weren't going out. So they started to read or listen to podcasts and stuff. It could also be a reaction to, I don't want to be controversial, but, government mandates. I
Yeah.
think there's something to be said about, the rebellious sort of nature. I think that relatively early Bitcoin adopters have, as soon as it's like, you must do this, something gets triggered and you're like, no. And then you sort of fall down the rabbit hole that way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think what drew me to Bitcoin for sure was the freedom money, I mean, the
Yeah.
ability to transact without, all this nonsense, the ability to be your own bank. I mean, and the ability to deal directly with people. Um, yeah, that was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. And then of course, yeah, that timing, I had time, to really like listen to podcasts, to start digging in, to start reading, to read the white paper. It's just like, yeah, so it was an interesting time, and it makes sense that a lot of people adopted it then.
Yeah. And does that overlap with walking to the sea every day as part of your healing process?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, yeah, so like growing up, I was landlocked. I didn't see the ocean until I was 13, actually.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where things change your life, right? There's just these moments and these things that change your life. And I knew I had to live by the sea. I grew up always, like, as an artist, I always grew up like exploring different worlds, reading, like I was interested in what else existed and what else
Yeah.
was around. And so the ocean, yeah, became this powerful symbol of like health and freedom. And it just really reminds me to connect to nature, to connect with my natural intelligence, to connect with like who I am at a much deeper and soul level. So, so yeah, so, you know, before I got sick and everything, I was kind of in New York and I was kind of really chasing the rat race. I was really trying, most of my life as an artist too, I've always been kind of, how do I be an artist and yet live in this world? And then
Yeah.
people are telling you that you can't be. So it was just really confusing. And I was always just trying different things, trying to get this job or that job and trying to balance everything. And I was really not figuring it out and not very happy. And so this health crisis happened, and all of a sudden, I was I was actually in Florida, and I lived like 5 blocks from the beach. So when I could finally make that 5 blocks, because it took me
Yeah.
time to even like I had to relearn how to walk and everything. So when I could, it was like aha, the ocean back in my life.
Yeah.
I had lived in Hawaii too, like earlier, like when I was in my like mid 20s, I left and I was like in California for a little bit, and then I lived in Hawaii for like 12 years.
Oh, wow. So on your beach walks, would the beach be only beach time with no sort of external distractions, no podcast, no headphones, or would you actually like listen to a podcast or something while you were going, or would you take a book with you? What was the experience like?
I would just go and walk in the mornings usually, so it was relatively uncrowded, which was great because
Yeah.
I was living in a pretty big area. So I would go in the morning. I would bring my phone. I would actually, it's got me taking pictures again, because I've had time periods in my life where, there's a lull in the creativity or a lull in the photography. So it kind of awakened my creativity again, right? It sort of reconnected me with who I truly was and like, what I really, connected me back into parts of myself that I had neglected or forgotten or suppressed. So yeah, walking the beach every day was like, yeah, I didn't listen to anything or whatever. I was like, I went to be barefoot, to feel
Yeah.
the air, to feel the water, to be present. And yeah, it was very healing.
So, what is it about being barefoot exactly that helps in the healing process? I've mentioned this a few times on my podcast, and I'll say it again. I've started to follow, I'll say Dr. Amus. He's the brother of Saifuddin Amus, the author of the Bitcoin Standard, the Fiat Standard, Principles of Economics. And I look at, when I'm on X, I look at his posts, and he speaks about, okay, I'm going to slaughter this, so please forgive my ignorance.
Yeah, you're
But
fine.
he mentions something about the energy or the vibrations or something that you get from walking barefoot on the ground. Sorry, my phone is just, I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. It's just here vibrating. But he talks about the energy that you get from actually making contact with your feet on the ground, like the earth. And I think he also mentioned maybe that it's something similar with the ocean as well.
100%. I mean, if we're sort of bioelectric beings, and
Yeah.
the whole idea that we are all just energy, that everything is just frequency and vibration and energy. So, and we have receptors, we have receptors in our feet and our
Yeah.
hands, to receive and to transmit this energy, this electricity. So, barefoot is, I mean, it's incredible. Like, you to actually connect, right, with these natural surfaces or even the water, just like the cellular structure and the natural. I mean, that's what I love too about being in Mexico. There's still some old towns with actual stone streets.
Yeah.
So it's like I could just take my shoes off and walk on the stone. Um, and there's a lot of just dirt and sand. And I love being barefoot because, uh, plus it's like structurally um, important for our posture. I mean, it's actually healthy. It actually, like, we're made to be barefoot and walking in the sand and the dirt. And I don't know.
You say structurally healthy. I kind of chuckle because for over a decade, I wore heels every single day. And I'm talking like heels.
Wow.
And my posture, like I do Pilates and yoga to try to
Yeah.
reverse the effects of wearing heels all the time. But it's like if I just, I mean, it's not possible for me to be barefoot all the time. But if I
Right.
were to make that effort to be barefoot, perhaps I wouldn't have to like go on the other end to correct my posture. Pilates, yoga, they're wonderful for other reasons, but you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I could have maybe saved myself a bit on the posture correction thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, heels are fun, don't get me wrong. It's like I love all that stuff too. However, I mean, I actually do a lot of things barefoot. I used to do some healing work too. I mean, I would always massage people. I always had to be barefoot. And then, like, I drive with my bare feet. I don't know. It's just like there's so much information and sensing that happens through my feet that like there's just things I have to be barefoot. So, you know, I don't know what it is, but there's
That
something there. Like my feet have a sense. They're picking up information. Um,
and I
so
guess your body processes it. So does that help you then with the with inspiration or your art to be barefoot as well? Like, is
yeah,
there?
sure. I think I am barefoot a lot of the time when I'm creating art, actually.
Yeah. So my next question then is because with no coiners. I don't like to say no coiners or normies because it sounds so condescending, but for people who don't know much about Bitcoin, the image, especially now, it's all about like traditional finance, like BlackRock or MicroStrategy, in the sense that it's a stock that you're selling or you're buying, or it could be a convertible bond that you're buying. So the natural question would then be, what is the connection, or is there a connection between Bitcoin and art? Why is Bitcoin appealing for an artist like it is for someone who's seeking out freedom, like it is for someone who's looking to, benefit on a trade?
Okay, well, for me, my understanding is that Bitcoin changes the paradigm, and all of a sudden we have a different system that's actually based in abundance and prosperity and is going up in value. So it brings us more
Right.
time, it brings us more value. So actually, we can explore our highest creativity. And I think that will contribute to art. You know, it, I think I think Bitcoin is important and will actually enhance art and make art much more important than maybe it is now.
How so? So I believe that too, especially like with respect to music, but I am not a singer or a musician or an artist. So it's really my opinion. So coming from an artist, how do you see Bitcoin making art better?
Well, I mean, already it has definitely changed some artists' lives. They've been able to make have a career. Um, and I think it also pushes them because they have that stability and the ability to sort of rest into the
Yeah.
foundation of Bitcoin. It actually also pushes them to use like better materials, to take more time, to um, explore things that maybe weren't available to them before. So, in that regard, I think that Bitcoin really does fuel some new territory and new inspiration when it comes to art.
Yeah, that I mean, it's cliche to say low time preference, but I can see that, I mean, I do a podcast, it's not art, but there are times where I feel kind of stuck. And so I'm guessing, and I mean, I'm very fortunate because I have guests that I can bounce off of and, like sort of pick my energy back up. But I'm guessing if you're an artist, and I don't know if there's like a schedule you have to respect, but the pressure to produce or just to sell because you have to pay for your rent or your mortgage or whatever, it could be quite overwhelming. And I guess my hypothesis is that if you're saving with something like Bitcoin that increases with value and you have like a bit of a cushion, so to speak, it reduces the pressure to produce something for the sake of producing and selling.
100%, and it's a different system, right? It's like a system, just like, right? Bitcoin goes up in value. You're cutting out a lot of ex the extra middlemen, so you're really able to deal direct, um, even direct artist to collector a lot of times. So I think, um, it's a whole different paradigm, as
Yeah.
opposed to this other system where you're constantly having to struggle. The income you earn is going down in value, so you're constantly scrambling, you're constantly a slave to the system. Whereas a Bitcoin, you can actually explore
Yeah.
your sovereignty and your liberation.
Yeah, that childlike thing, I see my daughter, she's 5, and the games she'll come up with by herself because she has that time and no pressure whatsoever. It
Yeah.
just seems so precious. And as we get older and we, take on more and more responsibilities, it just seems as though our time is, even if we're not like literally working in that moment for money, we're always doing something to prepare for, like going back to the office and working again. Like it's like part of our spirits are just sort of time locked in this place where we're always preparing for the next thing to make more money.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a slave system, I mean, in a way, right? It's like they don't want you to have, the fiat system does not want you to have time. It wants you to
Yeah.
be a cog in the wheel of their machine because they're the ones gaining power and monetary uh, monetary power. So, so yeah, so it's different because now you have the opportunity to not be a slave, but it's up to you.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it's exciting. If there's a possibility, I don't know. I was going to say too, podcasting, there is an art to that. So I think in some ways you are an art, and art is, to me, an art too is, it's a practice. It's a way you do things. It's something that you're coming back to over and over and you're exploring and curious. And there's creativity in how you approach it and how you deliver it. So
So
we're all creative.
yeah, it's because the thing that just, I love talking to people, and I love this. I love
Yeah.
getting to know people's stories, their journeys, because I feel as though I'm always learning, and I like to exchange, and you know what I mean. Like it's something that my heart loves. The thing about podcasting or posting on YouTube, where I think to myself, I really lack creativity, is graphics and coming up with thumbnails. Or I mentioned the cameras to you earlier. For me, it's another language. Like I can sit down and, figure out how to, I don't know, set up a note or use a new wallet or do something. I'm passionate about it, so I have the patience. But with, graphics and the visuals and stuff, I feel so incompetent, which is why I think to myself, like, art is not, my brain is not geared towards that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have our own specialties and gifts for sure. So, however, I'm just saying, I think a lot of things are art or art
Yeah.
can be art and artistic. So yeah.
So, what do other artists? So, I mentioned Flo Montoya previously,
Yeah,
and I know that on,
I
I
love
think
her.
yeah, she's sweet. On Scarce City as well, there are
Yeah,
auctions for
yeah.
pieces and stuff. Is there a growing sort of community of artists who are also into Bitcoin, or is it still very niche, for lack of a better term?
Well, I think it is still very niche. However, it's growing. Yeah, it's growing.
Yeah. And so, like, I talk about Bitcoin, and I don't usually speak about NFTs or Ethereum because I don't necessarily believe in, the genesis of these things. But as an artist, I do know that it seems as though it's a pitch, or it's something that can be viewed as appealing to sell your artwork or to, and again, I've never actually bought art on these platforms, but can you speak a bit more about that and what it's actually like and whether it's worth it?
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, what was appealing for me is to actually be preserving your work onto the blockchain,
Okay.
right? So it's a way of archiving, which I thought was kind of cool. And especially on Bitcoin, I mean, I mean, there's a lot of controversy that
Yeah.
it's graffiti. And I mean, I'll admit that, like half the stuff I wouldn't want to put on there, but, um, and I'm pretty picky about what I have put on there. So, I don't put everything. And I've kind of actually pulled back from all of that. But I think it's important too to technologies and modalities and methods, it will keep advancing, and there will always be more and more and new techniques and new modalities and new ways to do things. And I think it's important to try it. And it's funny because I kind of, have dabbled in blockchain art or whatever. I really like XCP, actually, like counterparty tokens, because it's a protocol on Bitcoin, so it's like not
Okay.
necessarily taking up block space, but it is using Bitcoin. So for me, that's kind of like the best option. Um, so I've done some stuff there too, and I think I'll probably stick with that. And maybe some inscribing, I don't know. But I've kind of pulled back and realized that I actually really love hands-on art. Like
Like the physical.
the physical art, I mean, I still love it. I was a physical art. I've always been a physical artist, So the digital thing was new. And I'm glad that I tried it. I'm glad that I learned. I'm glad that I,
Yeah, the
embraced
experience.
it, because a lot of people can become just so set in their ways that they won't try anything new. I've even tried a little bit of AI. I personally don't like it. However, I'm open to it, and I have seen some people do wonders with it. So, um, you know, I think it's important to be open, and I think it's also important to
Yeah.
I think it helps you actually hone your craft and
Yeah.
become more of the artist or voice that you truly are. So I think it's important to challenge yourself, to test things, to try things. And then if you want to go back and just, only do handmade pieces, like that's great, right? It's like I think it should it should actually help your process and help your art.
Hi, everyone. It's Saida, host of Ask a Bitcoiner 21 Questions. To my listeners based in Canada and the US, if you're looking for a seamless way to stack sats, i.e., save money in Bitcoin, check out the Bitcoin Well. And you're probably thinking, Sai, you moved to Switzerland a long time ago. How do you know the service is good? Well, I asked my father, the man who famously told me there's nothing wrong with being frugal, to test out their service, and everything checks out. He visited one of the ATMs in Scarborough. It was very intuitive, very easy to use, and the fees were not too high. So if my dad says it's okay, it's okay. Remember to use referral code AAB21Q when you stack sats with the Bitcoin Well. And please, 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 let me know how your experience is. Give me all of the details. And if you'd ever like to be on Ask a Bitcoiner 21 Questions to talk about your experience with the Bitcoin Well, or just your experience with Bitcoin in general, I would be more than happy to host you. Yeah, because I'm like, I think that my perspective is obviously very limited in the art world, but I've always wondered. I mean, if I buy like a print, I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen Wilshire. He is based out of the UK. He has autism, and the gift that autism has brought to
Yeah,
him is his ability to have a photographic memory. So
yeah.
he'll go up on helicopter tours, come down, and then just draw every single window detail that he saw while on the tour. So I bought two of his prints, one of New York City and the other is of Toronto because that's where I'm from.
Okay, cool.
And, like it's up in my home. And so for me, like physical art has a role. It inspires me. When I'm in the kitchen and I see New York City, I'm like, oh, yeah, with the old taxi cabs and stuff. So I never understood, I guess, the interest in having like a digital version that I just look at on my phone or maybe my desktop. You know what I mean? Like yeah, but I mean, art is art. It's subjective. There is no one clear answer, but I've never understood the yeah, the personal value of having something, digital like that.
Okay, well, a friend of mine has two frames in their house,
Yeah.
giant,
Yeah.
and it's just digital art. They can choose whatever piece they want to put
Ah.
each day or every day, right? And they can, have a TV show, right? So it's like this
Yeah.
all-purpose screen. I mean, they also have physical art too
Yeah.
in their home, right? However, they also have these digital screens, which, all of a sudden now you could have a whole entire museum or gallery on one screen, and you can choose a different piece every day. You can change it every 5 minutes, whatever you want, right? And so
Yeah.
I think the idea about like art on the blockchain or whatever, it's a way for the artist to monetize their art
Okay.
in that digital space because, that is kind of like the next level. People are going to have these screens and be able to have, you know,
What?
Picassos and, whoever they want, like right there on
Yeah.
this digital screen.
And so would that then lead to the value of a Picasso, for example, going down because uh, finally it could be ubiquitous. It could be in like everyone's homes kind of thing, or would the value of the like initial canvas still hold?
I mean, my feeling is that it's only going to increase the value of handmade and physical
Yeah.
pieces. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. And while we see and while we figure things out, it's good to save in Bitcoin along the way so
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
because you never know how things will play out. That is
Yeah.
so cool. So 2020, you were introduced to Bitcoin and it sort of married or complemented your artistic endeavors. Can you see yourself moving back to New York or to a big city or anything or
No.
no hesitation?
Yeah, well, I mean, so 2020, so I had this like major health crisis for a few years. I was struggling. I was in and out of the hospital. I had this major surgery. I had a place to live, and it was really hard too because I've always been a natural health person, and so like I had to just kind of like surrender to some of this medicine that I didn't really agree with. But hey, it's life or death, and so you just keep going. So, I'm like, what was I saying? Gosh, it's
Oh,
been
I asked if you'd ever move back to New York, and you
Oh
were
yeah.
like,
So
no.
what I was going to
Yeah.
say, so after this crisis, all of a sudden I have a second chance to live. It's like I have to live by my values. I
Yeah.
have to live by what's important to me, no matter how hard it is, no matter what the challenges are. Like this is my opportunity to live the life that I imagine. This is my opportunity to be an artist, to do whatever right? So I was like, what's important to me is like my bare feet on the sand,
Yeah.
kids playing in the dirt, like I don't know, I want character, I want nature. I want to be surrounded by inspiration. I want to, yeah, so moving to Mexico was like amazing. I love it. I think there's still, I mean, I think all over the world, I think there's treasures like this. I mean, there's places in America too that are more country and like this. Um, However, I'm just really happy. And it's such an amazing country. It's so big. There's so many different regions. The coast, it's got such a huge, long coast, and it's warm. So yeah, that's the other thing. It's like being
I
barefoot.
mean, that's like,
I'm lucky. I've chosen to be places where I can be barefoot because in a lot of places you can't be barefoot
yeah,
for part of the year.
that is the truth. So, what is it like living in Mexico? Do you speak Spanish or did you speak Spanish before moving there? The food, like a day in the life kind of thing. Take me away, make me dream, please.
Um, well, I I don't know. It's just yeah. Of course, I have to speak Spanish. Well, actually, there's parts of Mexico where you don't have to speak Spanish. In fact, it
Yeah.
has been a challenge to learn because there's so many English speakers where I am since I'm in more of a tourist area. However, I am probably moving and I'll be moving into an area where I'll have a little bit more opportunity to speak Spanish. Um, However, yeah, I didn't know much when I came. So, like, I had always studied French.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah. Same.
so, so I didn't really have Spanish. So I have picked up and learned Spanish and continually learn. I'm continually learning.
And what's the food like?
Well, I mean, for real, tortillas and tacos is a thing. Um, and yeah, there's some really good tacos. And um, I just love that there's still a little bit more of a sense of like free market, of a little bit of, I love that you can still walk to the little store and get a handful
Yeah.
of cheese. Or, you can live day by day there, hand to mouth there a lot easier, I think, than you can in other places. And I mean, this is my, like Western perspective, like, my gringa perspective.
Gringa.
I'm sure other people have different perspectives and experiences. However, I don't know. And I'm also probably prone to trying to find the best things about every place because that's just how I roll.
Yeah, that's how you roll. I hear the hand to mouth thing. I know uh, it is nice to be able to go to a market and buy like fresh fruit. And I eat meat, so like meat
Yeah,
and
me
stuff
too.
like that, without it being completely processed and packaged in like some plastic thing. There's something really cool about that. Again, it takes time. And, as I mentioned earlier, we don't always have the time to go out and do something or go to a market to get fresh fruit. On Sundays, my husband usually takes my daughter and they go. But the idea of just being able to do that is so nice. What will I eat today? Let me see what's in season, what is fresh. And it
Yeah,
seems so basic, but it's turned into such a luxury today.
it is. It's quality of life. I mean, I have this carniceria right down the street. I could just go and get some fresh hamburger meat. I could go get a piece of chicken or whatever, and it's right there. They just slaughtered the cow. They just slaughtered. It's like it's right there. It's
For the
beautiful.
taking.
It's
Have you
direct.
It's direct, and I don't know. I don't want to sort of pry too much on your health, but have you noticed a positive difference as well in your health because you're eating fresh food?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's way healthier. You're eating real food, and as fresh as it can be. There's still food that gets shipped or whatever, and some things
Yeah.
are. However, for the most part, things are pretty fresh, and a lot of things are produced in Mexico. A lot of food is produced in Mexico, so um, yeah, I think it's a better quality of life in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I hear that. A few years after I moved to Switzerland, one of my friends was like, "What do you like about it?" And I was like, "You know what?" Because I never thought that I would list this as something that I really appreciate about a country. But I was like, the food here is way better than the food in Toronto, where I'm from, without even trying or being aware of weight loss or anything like that. I moved here and I just lost 5 pounds, and I still eat I eat red meat. I don't necessarily, I'm not mindful of like the fat that's on the meat or anything. I just eat it. And then
Yes.
when I go back to Canada or if I travel to the States, It's like the minute I step off the plane, I just gain 5 pounds. And I haven't identified what it is, like what kind of like conservative or what it is
Yeah,
in
it's the
the
preservatives.
food. Preservative, thank you.
Yeah, it's all of that stuff, right? Because I mean, everything's boxed and packaged, and it's just, I mean, half of that food is not even real. It gets so processed, it gets the the energy gets processed out of it. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
But I
there's
would love to.
places, and oh, sorry. I
Oh,
was
no,
just gonna,
go ahead.
I think there are places, and I think there is a movement across the world, because people are waking up to the fact that this is, people want a quality better of life and they feel better when they have real food and stuff. So I think there is a growing, there's more people like leaving Wall Street and going to a farm and, becoming
Yeah.
farmers because, so I think there's a growing
Yep.
movement of like regenerative farming and there's places where you could actually have quality of life. There's farm co-ops, there's, farmers markets and things like that. So that's important. I think it's positive, and I think there are other areas to do that. I just happen to fall in love with Mexico.
With Mexico. I saw a report on Nashville
Yeah.
saying that it's like an amazing city. And I think that, I mean, one of these years when I have the opportunity to do like a road trip, I would love to visit Nashville because I've been hearing just so many positive things about that place in particular.
100%. You got to go. There's the Bitcoin Art Museum there. Yeah,
Ah,
and the
there you
Bitcoin
go.
magazine headquarters are there, and they have like the first Bitcoin Art Museum. There's a
Okay.
lot of great Bitcoiners there, and Nashville is. It was quite a. I went last year for the conference, and I was pretty blown away. If it had an ocean, I could live there.
Yeah, and a lot of live music too, right?
Yeah.
I think, actually, speaking of that, I think I may be wrong, but I think that Wavelake, I don't know if you're familiar with the
Yeah.
app. Quite a few artists from Nashville are on Wavelake as well. Like, I don't know if it started there, but I think that there's a strong tie to Nashville.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like a music epicenter. It's great. A lot of artists there.
And Bitcoin seems to be quite prominent. So you mentioned the conference in Nashville last year, and also part of your profile, you say that you love going to Bitcoin conferences as well. Will you be going to Vegas? Is it now or is it?
Yeah, I'm actually already in Vegas. Um,
Oh, okay. There you go.
yeah, I'm at my friends. I lucked out and have a really dear friend here, so it was a great opportunity to visit them. And yes, I will be at the conference. I have art in the gallery. I have art in the
Oh,
auction. I will have some samples with me. I will have some prints for sale, some hats, some fun stuff.
very nice. And what are you looking forward to in terms of speakers in Las Vegas?
Wow. I Well, I'm looking forward to the women's brunch.
Oh, yes, yes,
Are you
yes.
going to be there?
No, 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 no. My
No.
husband is traveling. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I've been to Las Vegas once, and it was something. I guess they don't call it Sin City for nothing because I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, this is my first time to Vegas ever. But there is actually a lot of stuff outside of it. Like there's mountains,
uh,
you can go hiking. There's the Hoover Dam, which is pretty close, which is incredible. So there's a lot of things to do outside of the strip. Um, so yeah, the brunch, Natalie Brunell is going to speak. You know, I don't know. There's a lot of great people like Muzz from Lightning Ventures. He always talks, about like investing and the Bitcoin economy, and then Mark Moss. And I don't
oh
know. There's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all kinds of people, like great speakers. Great, great, great. I mean, I love the speakers. However, I really love to go and just network and connect
Yeah,
with
meet
all
the
these
I totally
people.
agree.
And
Yeah.
you're just, it's like insane the good energy that is created. It's like you don't realize it. And then you're like in there and you're like, whoa, I do have a tribe. These are my people, you know?
Like you're not the only weird one, right? There are other
Well, and
people
it's not
who,
even like
yeah,
weird. It's just like, oh wow, like there's a lot of people leveling
yeah,
up, and then it's just like everybody's leveling each other up. You know, it's just like a wow. How can we get any higher? It's
yeah,
like amazing.
yeah. Level up, number go up, all of these things.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we're going to close out the interview portion. We're going to do 21 questions
Okay, great.
next. Can you tell people where to find you, your website, socials, and I don't know how long the Vegas conference will last. This will probably come out on Sunday.
Okay.
So if anyone can, like, bid on your art, for example.
Yeah, scarce dot city.
Yeah.
There's two. I have a couple original collages in just there's like a fixed sales, and then there's an auction, and I have a wonderful pinata. So you can auction and bid on that and then take it to your party
Nice.
and put some surprises of your own inside of it. So it's kind of fun.
And on social media, your website?
Oh, yes. So BTC, like Bitcoin, BTC Aloha dot shop. And then I also have like a page on there, C is Medicine,
Yeah.
about my art. And then I actually am probably going to be separating it eventually. I do have cismedicine.com as well, but it will just take you to BTC Aloha shop. And then my photography is my name, photo. So Naomi Olson photo.com.
Very nice. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Naomi.
Thank you, Sayed. It is so fun.
Keys, 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 keys. Yeah, 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 yeah. Man like quakes. Man like who? Yeah. Takes her Bitcoin off exchanges under self-custody. She runs her own node, providing liquidity. Yeah, she got her own keys. She got her own keys. She got her own keys. Yeah, she got her own keys. 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 Yeah, she got her own keys. Keys, keys.